Calling in if you guys want to sample anything, you're more than welcome to.
We should. Are you thirsty this morning?
I'm always thirsty.
You can't drink.
I can't have too many, but I'll
do. And we're back with another episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast. My name's Kenny, and today we are on site at, I don't know, would you call this ReWicked Candles, Fall City Lighting? We got a few different businesses from our guest today. But I also got Ryan here. So, Ryan, how you doing?
Cold, man. This weather here is insane. It's really sucked to live here. It's been 60 degrees one day. Now it's been like 8 degrees. It's really good for bourbon expansion in the barrel, but sucks for us.
I agree. I think I saw a pretty funny cartoon the other day, and it said, "Why do I live in a place where the air hurts my face?"
Yeah,
and that's kind of
I saw that as well. Yeah.
It's kind of like what, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess for the bourbon world, it's going to be good. It was kind of weird. Everybody kind of thought that since really winter didn't start up until this
we had
week,
the El Nino effect.
Yeah,
all winter so
we
far.
Basically had like 70 degrees on December. That kind of takes away from the whole thought process of, Kentucky has really cold winters, really hot summers. It's great for expansion, contraction. And we didn't know if winter was going to come around. And a lot of people were thinking that, okay, well, these 15-year bourbons are going to taste like 10-year bourbons, if that's what it's going to be, because they're not getting the same effect through all this. But
yeah, they're definitely expanding and contracting right now. So
considering it was like 60 yesterday, 5 today, snowing tomorrow, whatever it is. Right?
Exactly.
Yep. So let's go ahead and continue on the show. Today we have Chad Hartsfield. Chad runs a few different businesses. I'm not going to ruin it, but Chad, let's go ahead and introduce yourself. So first, before we start, give us like your background in bourbon. So how'd you get into it?
So I got into it kind of by moving up to Louisville from Florida. I used to drink Canadian whiskeys down in Florida.
7 and 7.
Yeah,
That's
rich
right.
and rare, Canadian mist. But when I moved up here, bourbon was the thing to drink. So I wanted to get involved with the bourbon community and see what it was all about. My experiences in Florida with bourbon was Jim Beam, and it wasn't really a good experience. But once I got up here, I started trying different ones. Started off with Old Granddad, Bottled and Bond. And just kind of went from there.
Well, good. So let's talk about your business or your few different businesses, whatever it is. We'll talk about the main one really while we're here today and all the different things you do with bourbon. So I guess kind of tell everybody, why you're on the show today.
Well, I own a couple different businesses. One of them is an event lighting company, and then the other one is ReWicked Candles. And we basically take empty bourbon bottles, cut them, and make candles and light fixtures out of them.
Mm-hmm. So we actually got to go and see the shop a little bit earlier today. So I guess talk to us about, first, what was the inspiration behind it? Like, did you see a need in the market?
Have you been in candle making your whole life?
I never thought I would be. Well, I had a bunch of empty bottles, wine bottles and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out what to do with them. Should I throw them out? What can I do? And I've seen online different people, cutting the bottles with a few different methods. And I tried them. It didn't really work out too well. And then I had a friend
suggest... Was it the whole, use a string with a lighter kind of thing? Yeah.
It was very unsuccessful. But had a friend suggest using a wet saw to cut them. And so tried that out a few times, had some success. My friend Mo McKnight owns a art gallery over in the Nulu district of Louisville. Yeah. And she was like, I have to have some candles in here. The person that was making our, candles can't keep up with orders. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how it started. And this was about a year ago in December. And I'd bring up 10, 15 candles. The next day she'd be like, we sold them all. I need more. So
how does it work with, say you have a Maker's Mark bottle or Pappy bottle? Is there anything with, the distillery that they have to get a cut of it since it's used, or how does that work?
Well, so I have an attorney that's been helping me, and he actually, I found him he brought me some bottles. He contacted us, and he wanted some candles made. So we've had one small little legal issue, which is honestly not a big deal, and he's handling it right now. But basically, the bottles are purchased, so then they become the owner's property. And so once they're purchased, we can modify them and do whatever we please with it, and are allowed to resell it because we are changing the purpose of the bottle, and we are not, altering the branding or anything like that. And so,
right. So, talk to us a little bit more about the process, right? We got to go and see the shop. You gave us the whole deal, the cutting to the beveling to the wax creation process. So, I guess kind of give us the soup to nuts, start to finish of when you get a bottle from somebody, just in case anybody out there is trying to figure out how do they take on the Yankee Candle Company.
Yeah. Well, basically, we get a bottle, and we'll use a wet saw to cut them. Different bottles, depending on their shape, take different kind of cuts. And then once they're cut, we let them dry. Then we bevel them, let them dry again, sand them, wick them, and then pour them.
Mm-hmm. So talk about a little bit about like wax, right? Because first off, I don't even know like how you make wax, how you get wax, like how do you experiment
on Ricky Martin videos? And
stuff. How do you experiment with scents, like all that sort of stuff?
Well, just figuring out what wax to use took a long time. We were and are still trying different waxes. We found one that we use currently, which works great. But there are so many different kinds. You have all natural soy wax, and then you have blends, and you have paraffin, and so it was a lot of research and just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you also had some interesting scents down there. We were smelling like charred oak. I don't know, some other scents. So kind of tell us like what are the more popular ones you do, and since you are putting these inside of old bourbon bottles, I mean, are you really trying to mesh that whole like kind of like, I don't know, manly smell to it, right? Like I doubt many people are like saying like, yeah, give me another French vanilla. Right?
Right. Actually, that is a popular one. So we actually, when researching scents, I was hoping there was already a bourbon scent, and I'd ordered some from a company online. And when we got it, it smelled like baked goods, just like caramel. And so we started experimenting with mixing other fragrance oils together to try to make a real bourbon scent. And it took a good bit of time, but we finally made one that we're okay with putting, our name on that. It's Kentucky Bourbon. And we've done the same. We've made charred oak barrel and an angel share, which is more of a clean kind of scent. And I would say charred oak, Kentucky Bourbon, and angel share are our top sellers.
Right. So, I mean, you have these scents. Like, are you putting patents on these scents? Like, we've got the right mixtures. Like, nobody else is going to take this? Or
no, we just not expecting anyone to try to copy them and get the exact thing. So
yeah, I got you. So, talk to a little bit more about like, where do you get your bottles? Because I've seen you on forums kind of talking about people saying like, no, don't break your bottles. Like I'll pay a few dollars for them, all these other kind of things. Cause, we get to go down to the workshop and you've got probably, I don't know, close to 250, maybe 500 empties down there that you've kind of got ready to go and get cut and start making a profit on, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, we started out with a local bourbon bar. They were, bartering their empty bottles in exchange for candles to put on all their tables. So we made them a whole bunch of unscented candles and would pick up bottles from them weekly. Then they started having an issue with people stealing the candles off the table. I'm sure. Yeah, so
kind of like hotels and Bibles, right? I mean, it's funny. It's funny. Always that's like
toiletries.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's how we started, and then just reaching out for donations or trading. We will barter candles or lights for different bottles, specifically rare bottles that are harder to come by. But we always we're in the process of reaching out to some other bars, and we actually have been working with a couple distilleries and taking the bottles from their tasting rooms to turn into candles, and then for them to actually sell them in their gift shops.
I'm about to have some empties as well. I'll hook you up.
Good price. I need them.
So what's the reaction when you go to these different bars or these I guess you say the distilleries and the tasting? Are they they're like they got to think about it for a little bit, or they kind of like, yeah, I mean, sure, they're empty bottles, they're just going to go in the trash anyway?
It's either or. Some of them are like,
why you want it?
No, some of them are like, we don't have the time to do that. Our bartenders aren't going to save them. We don't have the room to, put them to the side. Others are like, sure, yeah, of course. We'd love to. So it's really hit or miss.
And I guess when you're getting all these bottles, I guess what type of scale do you want to get to? Because we went down there and I noticed you got like one like industrial wet saw, like one beveler, right? So basically you're doing like one bottle at a time here. What's been the market reaction, and have you been able to keep up with demand for these kind of candles?
Well, Christmas time, we were a little backed up. Etsy orders are going out a little bit late. We had way more demand than we anticipated and not enough staff to help. So I have 2 artists that work with us that help keep up with demand, but I mean, our response we've gotten has been great. We have a couple stores locally that are begging us to get the candles in there, and we're just constantly working on orders that we've been backed up with. But as far as scale goes, unfortunately, that's where we start getting limited, because it is a piece of art. It's artwork. So to be able to get up to, a high-grossing company, it's almost impossible.
Right.
Especially with the candle side of things, because the candles are not very profitable, and they take nearly as much time as making the light fixtures.
Right.
So I see the future of the company more going towards the light fixtures, and actually we're looking to start making custom bourbon display shelves and furniture and stuff like that.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and we get tons of emails from listeners that are like, hey, I got this old bourbon barrel I want to turn a bar. What do I do there? Who can you send me to?
Email
do
me.
something with it, and it's
Yeah.
like, it just seems like the demand is there for that, those type of products.
So talk about your light fixtures. Like, talk about some of the things that you're starting to venture into, because I know you've got all these bottles, and you're looking of new ways to incorporate them into different kinds of, I guess you could say, household art.
Yeah, exactly. So we make pendant lights, and we use all of our light fixtures. We use the cloth cord to make it have more of an old school vintage feel. So we use reclaimed wood for the desk lamps, and we're looking into other ways to incorporate bottles. So it's something we're researching now, but we've made different fixtures for like Michter's Distillery for their trade show booth, and we've made barrel stave sconces. We've made several barrel head displays for stores, but just looking to find different purposes for the bottles, and that's been something we've been working on.
And for anybody that's interested, we are going to have pictures of everything on the website. So once this actually goes live, you can go to the website, look at the show notes. We're going to have all the pictures on there, as well as contact information in case you want to get some of this information. So as you're looking for all these different things you want to build, what are you always on the lookout for? Because you're talking light fixtures, furniture, bottles. Like when you're going out and, I don't want to say shopping, hunting, picking, thrifting,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it, right? What are you always on the hunt for to be able to incorporate some of this stuff?
I'm always on the hunt for vintage bottles and ones with labels, decanters, stuff like that, ones that we can use, but also salvage wood, barn wood, stuff like that. And just older parts, older light fixture parts, and anything I think I can use into the process. Bourbon barrels, obviously. So it's really just a wide array of stuff, and I buy a lot of stuff, so I'm always looking for something. Yeah.
Yeah, we went down there, and he's also got part of a side eBay business, and you got some shelves of random like fans and I don't know, all this other kind of stuff down there. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a hoarding problem, but it's a good hoarding problem. We're actually recording this at his home bar and his loft, and I'm probably looking at close to probably 200 bottles, maybe more than that.
Yeah, let's talk about this collection, because it's impressive.
Yeah, I guess kind of talk about, when did you start collecting? How did you get into it? And I guess is it just like something that you just get, I know I do. I get enthralled with something and then you just can't stop.
Yeah, I've been that way my whole life, and I've been collecting stuff my whole life. It was about a year ago, and I just was added to all these forums, saw all these people's vast collections, and wanted to get in on it. So my thing I really like is discontinued, older tax strip stuff like that. And so right now I'm on to Prohibition and pre-Prohibition, but finding those bottles at a...
Everyone else is as well.
Yeah, finding them at a
competition's
affordable
getting
cost
stuff,
is nearly impossible. So,
What's some of your prizes that you have?
ooh, I have an antique... antique, I forget the second word to the label, but it's a 1933 pint, and it has the box with it, and it was distilled at the George T. Stagg.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, that'll fetch a price tag, I think. So
Yeah.
I guess for anybody that is hunting out there, and if they're dusty hunting, because at least I know for me, I travel a little bit for work, and I go and I start and I try to find places to go and shop for bourbon. But it seems everything's cleared out, right? I mean, it's hard to find anything.
My recent trip to Florida used to have a honey hole at the ABC, and now everything's gone. It's like everybody's caught on now.
It's kind of the way it is. So I guess talked about, like, if you are dusty hunting, you're tax strip hunting, like, what are some of the avenues that you go through as well?
Right on until.
Yeah, you're getting ready to spill all your secrets.
Yeah, I'll give you a few. Craigslist and online forums. Going to estate sales and auctions. That's a good way. I haven't had a lot of luck, but I know people that have. Especially with the older bottles. I've stopped at hundreds of liquor stores in the past year all over the country, have not found one good dusty, not one with a tax strip or anything. But so I'd say online is the best bet. You might have to pay up for some of them, but that's where they're most readily available.
That's sort of the way it looks. So at the same time, we're looking at your collection. What would you consider most of your? You look like you have a ton of bottles open. So if you had a bottle open count, what are you at? And then what would you consider your daily drinker?
I would say I probably have at least 40 or 50 in my daily drinker that I used to, if I mix a drink, would be Charter 101.
Oh, okay.
I actually came across a case of it at Sam's Club, and it was like $15 a liter.
Oh, wow.
As far as, drinking it neat, right now I'm on the Anthony Bowman single barrel.
That's what I'm having right now, and I've never had it before, and I'm impressed. I'm going to Liquor Barn immediately after this.
Yeah.
So, we talked about some of the things that you're building with the light fixtures and the candles. What bottles are you always on the lookout for?
Any of the BTAC, any of the Pappy, anything that people are looking
pretty
to get
much
full.
what we're searching for, the real ones.
Right. And I guess... now, are you looking just for handouts and say, like, hey, instead of letting this go to a market on eBay where it's going to fetch a price tag that all of a sudden we know what's going to happen if it goes on eBay and it's going to sell for extraordinary amounts. It's going to get refoiled, or a bar is going to buy it, fill it with Kentucky Tavern, and put it back on their shelf because, hey, it's the Pop's Topped, right? I mean, it's sitting there, right? So that's one of the things you have to worry about is advisement. Like, don't sell your empty bottles on eBay. It's just a big shame on you. But I mean, are you offering money for some of these empty bottles that people could get out of it instead of either breaking them or not feeling bad about selling on eBay or something like that?
Yeah, we appreciate donations all the time.
Yeah.
I do barter for products, so you bring me some Pappies and you'll get a candle. Or I've had people recently off the forums, they'll send me a whole box, let's say 4 or 5 bottles, and one of the bottles they want a candle out of. So that's kind of how we barter.
Right.
I can pay cash depending, but I'd rather barter.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, it makes sense.
I got a couple I'll barter for you. I want some of those old Weller candles. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely barter with you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, because it makes sense. Now, like, I don't have to feel bad about, finishing a bottle and like saving onto it, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, right? I mean, like, you've got a whole lot of different things you can do. Like, you've got light fixtures, you've got candles, and you've got all these different things that we can definitely go back and forth and be able to make those deals happen. So another thing, are there custom things that you can build for people?
Yeah, we do that very often. If they have a certain bottle they want, it's special to them, maybe has their wedding date on it or something, we'll make, custom candles or lights out of that. But we've gotten into making custom bourbon display shelves and storage, and can incorporate, various things from LED lights or, personal engraving or logoing on it, furniture, it's just stuff like that. So we definitely do a lot of custom work.
Oh, that's
Kenny's your
impressive.
ideal customer. He's trying to make his bar.
Yeah, I've got this whole like bar idea and basement idea that I'm doing, so we'll talk a little bit later. So at the same time, where can people buy your products, right? If they are looking to purchase light fixtures and candles, and they can either do it brick and mortar or online, where can they find everything?
Well, locally in Louisville, we have them at Revelry Art Gallery. A couple of the Hallmark stores are carrying the candles, and I believe at Gift Horse we have a couple of the light fixtures. Online, you go to ReWickedCandles.com, and then I'll redirect you to our Etsy page, or you can email me directly, chad@ReWickedCandles.com.
Good deal. So another thing about these candles, are they a one-time use? Is it something that I guess like if anybody buys something from Yankee Candle, right, they're going to light it once, and as soon as it's down to the bottom, it gets tossed in the trash. But
I wouldn't want to throw away a Pappy bottle.
Yeah, well, yeah. But this time the top's cut off, right? You could probably try to clean it out, make a cup out of it. But at the same time, if it is something that means something to a lot of to somebody, or they're paying a hefty price tag for something that as you kind of said, it's a work of art. Is there a way that you can reuse it in some sort of fashion, or?
Yeah, actually, that was a starting premise for the company, was ReWicked Candles, so we could refill the containers. So you basically bring it back to us or ship it to us, and we clean it all out and refill it.
Mm-hmm. So I guess also let's talk about some costs of some of these candles, right? Kind of talk about maybe the lower end cost to the higher end cost of what you're seeing that people are paying for some of these candles.
Yes, so our candles range, at least the bourbon candles, range from about $25 to about $40, with some of the rarer bottles being the exception because of the cost of getting the bottles. And then for refilling, it's about 25% less than that.
Right.
Cool. Have you had any distilleries reach out? It's like, hey, we love these products so much, we just want them in our gift shop,
Yeah, we have. We actually had Michter's. I was doing some event lighting for something at the Fraser Museum, some bourbon tasting they were doing over the summer, and I had brought one of our lights up there with a Michter's bottle, and the president or whoever, general manager of Michter's, had to have it. So she went home with that light that night. And then we've worked on making some other stuff for them. But recently, Barton's Distillery has reached out to us, and they're going to be giving us the visitor center tasting bottles, and then we're making some candles for them that they're going to resell, and then within the last week... In their gift shop? In their gift shop, cool. Yes. And then within the last week, Bullet Distillery reached out to us, and they had actually, about 4 months ago, purchased 4 pendant lights off of our Etsy. And then when we went to drop them off, we had a little discussion with them.
Yeah, be
like, we can make a lot more of these.
Right down the street, right? You didn't have to go through a third-party service.
Yeah, exactly. And then I actually have one of my good friends is their brand ambassador for Bullet. So he was a little bit of an in on that as well.
Well, good deal.
Awesome.
So when people are looking at these, what are the most popular ones? And what are, I guess, some of the ones that, I don't want to say anything sits on the shelf like a little stale, right? But what are some of the bourbon bottles that you make into candles that immediately have that draw to them that go off the shelves faster than others?
What you would expect would be your more popular brands, and I would attribute that probably to people buying gifts for other people online and just, seeing a name brand bourbon and buying that. But Woodford Reserve is a big one, Maker's Mark, Old Weller, Blanton's is a really good seller. Mm-hmm. And then
you think it's the shape of the bottle that gives it that?
I think so, because it's just such a cool bottle, and once we're done cutting it, it just comes out. That's a really good product. Mm-hmm. But those are probably the main bourbon ones. Surprisingly, Jameson, I would say, would be our best seller
really?
for the holidays.
Yeah.
And I think that was our only non-bourbon item on our Etsy page. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking about branching out and doing some other non-bourbon, non-whiskey bottle
you can do that. Scotch, you can do some... Man, we got a lot of beer people, too, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had some Fall City beer vintage bottles from the 50s, and we sell those pretty consistently, too.
Oh, wow. That's cool. We saw, when you showed us, saw these huge gallon bottles of Old Grandad and Old Taylor. Talk about what you might be doing with those in the future.
So we had a custom order request from a lady, and she wanted a Calvert Extra lamp for her husband for Christmas. She sent me a link to the bottle on eBay, and I bought it. And when it came in, it turned out to be a 1-gallon bottle. So we're like, oh, wow. What?
And by the way, we looked at it first, and Ryan will have a picture of it on the site. But if you actually see it, I mean, it is huge.
Yeah,
it is
it's
huge
bigger
bottle.
than 2 of our heads put together.
Yes.
Yeah, it's insane. So we made her that light, and it was so cool because it's so large. It's almost comical in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been doing my best to come across them and buy them up, and then eventually we'll be making more, probably one-offs of them, but the desk lamps and stuff like that.
Right.
So pretty excited about it.
Well, really awesome. So, Chad, thank you again for being on the show today.
Shit.
It's okay. We can.
I dropped my damn phone.
So, Chad, thank you again for being on the show today. It was a pleasure to come up here, not only to see your shop and drink your bourbon, but also to listen to your story about how you moved from Florida, got into bourbon, got the bug, and started collecting. Right? We can all kind of relate to that.
Yeah, it's hard not to when you get in Louisville or just in Kentucky. You're like surrounded by bourbon, so it's hard not to get enthralled with it. But what you're doing here is pretty cool. I mean, that old Weller bottle, candle. I think that looks really cool, and I kind of want a couple of them right now. So.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for having us, and appreciate the bourbon. This Bowman is awesome. It's really good. So thanks for coming.
So, lastly, if anybody, again, let's give your pitch. So, where can they find you? Where can they buy your stuff? And if they want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
So you can find us online, ReWickedCandles.com. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can email me at chad@ReWickedCandles.com.
So if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We always like to interact with a lot of our guests through there, as well as a lot of the fans in the show, and kind of just want to know what you want to hear about, and we'll try to bring those guests to you.
Yep, we're in our second winter. We're traveling all across Kentucky meeting guests. So if there's anyone you want to hear, please let us know, and them, because some people don't want to respond to us. So get on them about you want us to hear them on the Bourbon Pursuit podcast. So,
all right. Well, thanks again, fellas, and we'll see you next time.